Hey everybody, what's up? Yeah, this is an audio video, and it's kind of a response to to DarthOmniShadow, or some, or I can't pronounce his name here on YouTube. But I appreciate first of all him responding to the video, and I know he's listening, and I appreciate you responding. And I kind of understand, like I've said before, I have no problem with the redesign of Sally. I really don't. And I can kind of understand where you're coming from, like, where you and a lot of other people are coming from, like, why the complaining now? Why all of a sudden the complaints? I mean, you take a look, like you said, someone like Barbary Koala, maybe even Julie Sue, for instance, if you will, and you say to yourself, well, Barbary Koala barely, has just the belt, the gloves, and the little singlet down her chest. And then you take a look at Julie Sue, and all she has is her stuff, and she has just like a bulletproof vest or something like that, and nothing on the bottom except for a belt, and that's it. So, and then of course you take a look at like Hershey in her regular red vest attire with a blue scarf, and I understand where people are coming from. Like why complain about Sally? And to correct you on Bunny, Bunny's not completely naked. No, the pink thing's kind of like a leotard. It's kind of like a leotard thing. So she's not completely naked. Not really. And it's like I said before. I said this, I think, in my response video to Ian Flynn and Paul Kaminsky, which is entitled "Message from and to Ian F. and Paul K." And when Bunny had her redesign, first of all, the Daisy Duke one was cool. It was good to see her sort of like in the doing kind of having an attire, wearing something different than what she normally wears and stuff. It was kind of cool seeing her have the new hair look and everything. And then when she went cowgirl, after Sonic came back from his year-long journey, it was like, it took me a while. It took me a little bit of time. It took anybody else a little bit of time. But we all eventually, that were fans of the character, we jumped on the bandwagon because we thought, hey, this is a unique look for her. This is pretty cool. And we had no problem with it. And the long hair and everything, no problem whatsoever. I mean, somebody has pointed out, and I think you could agree on this, Omni. I think you agree on this, Omni, that it was Sally that had long hair for a few years in the comic. Believe it or not, she did have long hair for a few years in the comics before Ian Flynn, decided in issue 177 to have Bunny Rabbit off panel. Basically cut it back to the way it was, back to her old hairstyle. And that was cool and everything. But yeah, the redesign for Sally, from what I understand, and I think you've heard about this too, and if not, let me kind of explain it. It's not probably due to the fact that there's a rumor, or Ian Flynn basically saying that there's a possibility that this is due to the fact that she could be used in the games, because when he stated in his journal that it's part of a larger game plan, that middle word game makes you think, is Sega finally considering it? Because I don't think Sega, was it Sega of Japan, Sega of America, or the overall Sega Corporation can deny how popular and successful the comic book is. Nor can they deny how popular and successful and over these characters like Sally, like Antoine, Bunny, Rotor, Julie Sue, how over they are with the fan base. So I don't think they can deny that. And again, it would explain, why Sally has this new redesign. Now, Ian Flynn has said it himself. It's basically a rough teaser image right now. And many other people have even come out and said that over time, people are going to basically, they're going to probably over the next year or so, they're going to rework it. They're going to probably change it up a little bit. They're probably going to add a few little more details. I mean, one of the things a lot of people said, and I think you would agree, I think you noticed this as well, is that with someone like Sally, excuse me there, I kind of burped a little bit. But with Sally, the one thing missing is her little fur on her cheek, her little cheek tuft furs, that little tuft of fur on the cheeks. So I'm pretty sure if they're gonna put her in this new design, they might just add those to say, hey, here she is. I mean, I still recognize her. I mean, I see her, no doubt, for who she is. I still see Sally, in my honest opinion. I do. But yeah, I can But the thing is, I can understand why a lot of people like yourself feel it's going to take a while for people to get used to her like this. Because when you think about it, it's not been, unlike what people are saying, 20 years overall design. Yeah, 20 years for the overall design, no doubt about it, about 20 years. But it's actually been about 19 years with the whole vest and boots design. That's what it's been. So, honestly, I think a lot of people, that's why I feel a lot of people are kind of unsure about this design right now, because they're not sure if they'll be able to get used to it. Another reason people are unsure about this design, and you've pointed it out, Zara Nizarak, Sean McLean has pointed it out, and a few others, is the way it's drawn right now is it makes it look too young. Now, this is what really gets a lot of people. Because you see, a lot of people are worried that not Sega, but Ian Flynn may have, that through this image, Ian Flynn may write her as being de-aged. In other words, regressed in age or something, or he's going to change her personality. Honestly, I don't see that happening. And if you go here on DeviantArt, DarthOmniShadow, if you go here on DeviantArt and you'll see it yourself, there's a lot of people that have drawn her with her new design, and some have drawn her the way she looks anyway, with the new look and everything, and basically showing through this fan art that, hey, Sally's still Sally. Don't worry about it. I mean, one thing I will point out that Ian Flynn did do is he asked the question, does she still have a blue vest? Does she still have her auburn hair? Does she still have her boots? Is she still a chipmunk squirrel? And he said yes in all those questions, which basically telling me is he's asking, is she still her? Is she still Sally? Yes, she's still Sally. It's still Sally. So don't worry. That's basically what it is when he's asking all those questions about, does she have the boot and the vest and the auburn hair, and is she still a chipmunk squirrel? And he's saying yes to all of them. He's basically asking everybody, it's still Sally, right? So overall, with all that, it's still Sally, right? Yes. That's what he's saying. He say yes. Despite how you feel about what's going on, it's still her. And again, I understand completely why I know I'm repeating myself here, but I understand completely why fans don't like the redesign, and I completely get it. I really do. I mean, I came out and I basically said the truth. I've said the truth with DarthOmniShadow, and you can pretty much watch it on my videos here, in my message video to him, and and whatever. And I think you read it on his journal. But basically, he said that the SatAM cartoon, that Sally and the SatAM cast were old, outdated, and niched. Now, somebody that did kind of give us a better understanding of what he meant was, the show is outdated, and that the only way for the characters to survive is for them to mesh. In other words, to kind of look like they belong in the games. And I'll be honest with you, DarthOmniShadow, and I'll be honest with anybody listening to this. I don't mind the fact that you have to update a character. I get that. But I could have done better. I could have been better off with you saying the show that they basically made a name for themselves in, that introduced them literally to the fan base that's been with them for a long time, is outdated. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. If it was outdated, I said this to him, If it was outdated, then why is Netflix showing it? Why was Cookie Jar Entertainment considering it to be part of this year's This for Kids block on This TV? On the This TV networks. Why was it being considered for that? Why would Cookie Jar even bother showing it on the Jawu websites? Why would they even bother selling individual DVDs with a variety of episodes, including Doomsday, if it was so outdated? If the characters were outdated, if the show is outdated. It's because the show is not outdated. It's a classic. Outdated basically means not in style anymore. And I get the designs maybe are not in style anymore, but not the show. Because with the show being aired or being seen on Netflix, and for those that have capabilities of watching Netflix, whether it's through an Xbox 360 or a Wii like I have, or an iPod like I have, or an iPhone or an iPad or Kindle or a Roku machine or even a PS3 or even the new Wii U that's coming out next month, or even the Apple TV. The point is, as long as it's being aired somewhere or shown somehow, it's not going to be outdated. And again, I understand he did that to get a rise out of people, and he's done that, especially with me, I'll be honest with you, even though, like I say, I completely understand where he's coming from. I mean, I look at my poster right now that says Sonic the Hedgehog, and I see Sonic, Amy, Knuckles, Espio, Charmy, Vector, Eggman, Tails, Cream, Blaze, Shadow, Rouge, Big. I see them, and when I look at Amy, and I look at Blaze and Cream and even Rouge, I say to myself, that's probably the designs that Sega wants him to target with the Satyam cast. I mean, you take a look at Amy, and you take a look at Cream, and Cream is the one thing that makes people worry, because they say that's the one character that's missing from here, and I also see Silver in there too, I should have pointed that out, but the one character that's missing from here is Marina. And when you go to some of the forums, some people have actually made a comparison saying that the new Sally design, even though, as many people have pointed out, it's just a rough draft teaser image, that the design of her right now, that was shown at the NYCC, looks like a carbon copy, almost identical to Marina. And that's what worries them. But honestly, again, I have faith and I believe that it's not going to be that way. I don't think Ian Flynn is going to dare change the personality. A lot of people pointed that out. It's like, okay, you could change the design, don't change the personality. It's kind of like when I mentioned about Transformers and everything, in G1. If that was outdated, if those characters were outdated, old, and cliched, as well as the show, then why is the show still being shown on? Why is the show being shown on the hub? Along with the shows that were its spin-offs. The shows that were inspired by it, like Prime and Animated, and even the shows that could be shown on there eventually, like Energon, and in the Unicron sagas and all that. Why are they being shown? Why are they being shown? I'll tell you why. Why is it being shown at that same time? Why is the movie, the 86 movie, being shown as well? I'll tell you why. Because it still has relevance. It still is relevant to the entire fan base. I mean, I'll give credit what's due for Ian Flynn. He came out and he said if he wanted to, he could have done in Genesis, and maybe even before then, he could have basically wiped them all out. He could have done that in 175. He could have done that in Genesis. He could have basically did the story and just wiped them all out. And I understand. I completely understand where he's coming from with that, because if he felt like it, if he really hated the show, he really hated the Satyam franchise or the Satyam part of the franchise, he could have done that, but he didn't. And I understand, again, DarthOmniShadow, like you probably do and like anybody else does, that he's doing what he has to keep the characters going. And if he has to redesign the characters, whether we agree with them or whether we agree with the redesigns or not, then so be it. You know, but again, getting back to what I was saying, I understand that it's going to take people a lot of time to get used to it. But the one thing that a lot of people, though, have really been questioning about the reasoning behind this design, and I want to get you a straight answer on this, DarthOmniShadow, whenever you get time. But here's the thing. If you're going to redesign a character, why go through the trouble to do this long story arc that you currently got going? Possibly pause it in the kind of pause it, if you will, for a month or so, just for an advertisement or a tie-in to a game, into an event that took place months before, in a game that came out a year before, or a little less than a year before. Why interrupt it just for that? And then probably around next year, around April and May of next year, interrupt it for a 4-month summer crossover with Mega Man. Why go through all that just to, in the eyes of many fans, just so you could say it was all about getting this character redesigned in the end? Why go through all that? You know, and see, that is a very good question. Now, I've pretty much kind of figured why the redesign from a story aspect is happening. When you take a look at her mechanized body, weaponized body, I'm pretty sure you have. You know, you can kind of get an understanding as to why it's happening that way. I mean, to be quite honest, it does make a little sense when you take a look at it, what her hands are right now and why the gloves are there. It kind of makes sense as to why the pants and the tank top are there and everything. It makes sense. And I get that. Now, a lot of people pretty much said, well, a lot of people have said that like you, DarthOmniShadow, and anybody else listening, have pretty much said, yeah, we have no problem with it. It's just going to take time getting used to. Some look at the design and say, you know what, that design doesn't even look like it could be for today. It looks like it could be a design for this, last decade, like 12 years ago. And as a matter of fact, that's one thing a lot of people have said. They pretty much feel that if he was going to do this, or if Archie, well, not Ian, because Ian wasn't even on board back 12, 13 years ago. But basically they're saying that if Archie Comics overall was going to do this, they should have just done it when they did the whole redesigning for Sonic and Amy. That's when they should have done it. That's when they should have came out and said, okay, we're going to redesign not just Sonic, not just Amy, but we're going to end up redesigning the entire Sonic comic book cast, including the SatAM cast. And again, that would have made some sense. I will admit that. I mean, if you're going to redesign your main character and the pink female, if you will, Amy Rose, along with some other characters, why not just do it for the rest? I mean, I get it. It makes more sense to do it when it should have been done. But again, in my honest opinion, I think the reason they didn't do that is because SatAM was, I guess, in Ian Flynn's eyes, because he was still part of the fan base at the time, and Ken Penders, whether you like the guy or not, was working on it, as well as Carl Boulders and a few others, probably felt that SatAM wasn't that outdated yet. And they're probably right. It probably wasn't that outdated, as far as I know. I mean, quite honestly, they could have, honestly, they could have done it right then and there, but they didn't. They could have done a redesign for all the characters. Really, they could have. Even after issue 50, they could have done a redesign. After 75, they could have done a redesign. but they didn't. I mean, heck, Amy Rose had her redesign in the games, and she didn't get an official adaptation of her redesign in the comics until a lot later. But still, they did it. I admit that. But again, I will admit that it probably would have been better timing if they would have done it at the time when they were doing the whole redesign thing. I will give them that. But still, I have no real problem with it whatsoever. And believe it or not, there are some people over at DA, like Ezekiel, that has no problem with the redesign either. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that are ranting right now or, typing right now and kind of voicing their opinions, if you will, right now about the redesign. They probably feel the same way. They probably feel, hey, we have no problem with the redesign either. It's just the way it's being done, or it's just the way it's going to be brought about, or it's just the way it's going to be debuted, if you will. Like why do you have to take so long with this story arc just to get to this point? I mean, Laser X5, a.k.a. Sonic Satam X93 and Jonathan 83X, basically said it themselves. They said, they said, you could have easily done a side story with Sally going to a shopping mall or a shopping center in New Bombotropolis or Station Square with Amy or Bunny, having Amy or Bunny teasing her about the fact that she just always wears a vest and boots and acts like a tomboy, and they show her this they show her this outfit and tease her at the fact that she would never put something like this on, only to have her prove them wrong. Wrong by buying the outfit and wearing it from time to time, from then on. And, to me, that would have made a lot of sense. Hence, I will admit, in a short story term kind of way, it would have made a lot easier sense. I mean, take a look at Nicole. They gave her a redesign from just being a portable computer to a Lynx in just a short backup story. That was it. That's all that took, was that short backup story. And, heck, look at Bunny Rabbit, like I said. It took Sonic's supposed year-long absence from Mobius, which was basically like, 126, 27, 28, 29, 4 issues worth, for her to get the cowgirl design. But here's the difference with here's the difference, and I think this is where I think, in my honest opinion, and I said this in my video message to Ian Flynn and Paul Kaminsky. I said this. I said basically that I feel what could happen, in my honest opinion, not saying it will, but the way the way the reaction is right now, is I feel that they're going to allow Sally to do exactly what they're going to do with Sally what they've done with Bunny. They're going to allow her to go back and forth. Now, what I mean by that is we've noticed that Bunny, at times when they're on missions and they're fighting and, whatever, she's in her cowgirl outfit. We get that. But when she's, just living her regular life, enjoying life, whatever, she's just in her regular leotard, right? Or leotard and jeans now, whatever it's going to be. But you kind of get what I'm saying, right? And that's what I feel could happen here with the reaction that the new design is receiving. The reaction is they're getting this, they're going to, in my opinion, they may end up having Sally go from this new design back to the vest design and boot, back and forth. I feel that's going to happen. And I wouldn't be surprised by that. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, as far as to why the design is happening, again, going back to the possibility that it's due to the fact that she may end up in the games, and there may be a reboot, but some are saying that's been debunked. There's another reason behind it, DarthOmniShadow, and anybody else listening. And I'm sure I've already explained this, but let me explain it one more time for those that don't know. According to numerous sources, when this was first revealed, it was parents. That's right, a group of parents, and with all due respect, individual moms and dads, that came to Sega and said, came to Sega and Archie and basically said something about Sally's current ADM Season 2 look. Now, I'm pretty sure this is due to the fact that this group of parents, and with all due respect, individual moms and dads, probably saw their children, their young children, the new generation that are getting into Sonic, reading the comics, and seeing Sally, just walking about with just the vest and the boots. And that's probably what started the whole situation. Now, again, if that is the case, then, I do agree with DarthOmniShadow and anybody else. Why aren't they saying anything about Barbary Koala, or maybe even Julie Sue, or at times Hershey the Cat? Well, let me explain why that. And I explained this, I think, before, and I'll explain it again. It's because Barbary, Julie Sue, and Hershey are not shown as prominently as Sally. That's right. Sally is shown more prominently and featured more prominently than those three females. I mean, I'm pretty sure when they bring Dulcie back, she'll have a redesign too. Don't get me wrong. Well, she'll have maybe some clothing as well. But the point I'm trying to make is, don't be surprised at the reaction to just Sally, because like I said, that she's shown and seen and featured more prominently than Barbary, Julie Sue, and Hershey. That's why. Now, there's also another thing that came up as well from this one person. I can't think of the name right now on DA. And they basically said that from what it sounds, from after reading Ian's blog, or Ian's journal, if you will, on DA and probably on his website, on his message board, and maybe at Archie, that basically it sounds like from what they can read, from what they can decipher out of Ian's journal message, it sounds like to them that it's not a parent issue. It's more like maybe a mandate from Sega. In other words, I think they say, in quote unquote, either these characters cease to exist in the comics, or they get changes. In other words, either you erase the characters from the comics once and for all, or you give the characters redesigns to match up with what the characters of the franchise in the games look like today. So it could be that too, and if that is the case, then we can't really say nothing about it. If Sega says, hey, redesign Sally, Rotor, Antoine, Nicole, and Bunny to look just like they would if they were in the video games, so be it. It's going to happen. And don't be surprised if, everybody else gets a similar design. If one day you're looking like, okay, you're probably reading an issue with Nicole now, right? With Nicole in there, like a more recent issue. Don't be surprised in the near future you read it and you see Nicole and you go like, what happened to her little fur tufts? Just like with Sally, or what happened to Nicole? And then you'll kind of get the idea, oh, it's now Sega Nicole. That's the whole point. And Nicole, again, is another character that, again, going back to it only took a short story for her to get her redesign from just a portable computer to her Lynx look. As well as it took only a few pages for her to go from just her regular outfit, which was just a dress, if you will, to having like as I mentioned in some text, and I'll mention it again, her get out, go party, have fun outfit with the hat and the tank top and the shorts. Which I think is kind of where they got the idea almost for Sally's new look. Now, again though, from what I understand, that those are basically the two reasons why I believe, or from what I've heard, not I believe, but from what I've heard is the reason behind Sally's redesign. One, being parents and maybe individually moms and dads with all due respect. And two, possibly Sega mandating it, from what one fan can decipher from Ian's message. Now, if the mandate is the case, like I said, you can't really do anything about it. They want it that way, it's going to happen. But you know what? One thing that I will give credit to this one person that tried to decipher what Ian was saying in his message was something that I even said before when I first talked about this, and I think the first video I did about it. I said, basically they said something similar to what I said. They said if you go out to a mall or to a store and you go clothes shopping, and if you're a girl, if you're a woman, no disrespect, get some makeup as well as get your hair done, whether it's cut, trimmed, or permed, you're not going to be a new person. You're just going to be you. You're just going to have a new look. It's kind of like when you go to school, and as a matter of fact, you read the issue where Sonic and his friends go to school, and you see Bunny in her Daisy Duke outfit, and her bangs now sticking out up front. You kind of get the idea of what I'm about to say. And what I'm about to say is, anytime you would go to school, because I remember this through all my 12 years of schooling, from elementary all the way to my last year in high school. Every year, every fall semester, and even at the beginning of every fall semester, and at the beginning of every second semester, which was the winter-spring semester, every year, every first semester, I should say, and second semester, people, boys and girls, would always come back with a new look. You know it's them, but you would see something different. Like their hair would be done up, or their hair would be shorter, or they'd have a new dress. They'd have not new dress, but they'd have some new clothes on that you've never seen them wear before. They'd probably be wearing maybe if they were a girl, wearing maybe lipstick for the first time, or nail polish, or whatever. That's how it was in school, and I think everybody listening to this, DarthOmniShadow, anybody, Digimon 11, Ezekiel 300, I think you would all agree. That's exactly what this person is saying, is that, it doesn't matter, if you get a new haircut, you put on, and if you're a girl, woman, you wear new makeup and all that, or you go shopping for new clothes or whatever, you're still going to be you. You're still going to be you. I mean, heck, let's take it to another level. You can, if you're somebody that has plastic surgery, even if it's minor plastic surgery, like say for the nose or certain particular areas that I'm not going to talk about, I don't want to mention if you're a woman and you're listening to this. But you kind of get what I'm saying, right? You kind of get that plastic surgery, maybe even for your face to make it look younger, right? Just because you get that plastic surgery doesn't mean you're a different person. It just means you have a new look. And again, it goes back to what that person said and what I said in my first video talking about it. It's basically, you're just basically getting a new look. Yeah, it's going to take people a while to get used to that new look, or get used to the new clothing you're wearing, or get used to you if you're a girl, or if you're a girl in school, like I said, for example, the first semester or second semester wearing makeup, it takes them a while to get used to that. Or if you get a haircut, like, I got my haircut, which was a number 1 on the sides and a number 2 on the top, basically a military cut, it's going to take people a while to get used to it because they're not used to seeing you with it. Or it's kind of like with me growing a goatee, I'll shave off the hair on the sides of my face and trim the goatee a little bit. And anybody that sees me, like say I have friends out in Kansas, that say if I ever meet up with them again one day, hey, like some of my friends in Kansas have moved out here to California, Southern California to be exact. But let's say I bump into them one of these days and they see me with the goatee, or they see me with the shaved hair and the goatee. They'll know it's me. It might take them a second or so to recognize me, but they'll know it's me. but it'll take them time to get used to the new look. So basically, that's the whole situation. It's like, it's a new you. Well, it's not a new you. It's a new look for you, but you're not a new person. You don't have a different personality. You don't have a different outlook on life. Well, you do have different outlooks on life every day. There's no doubt about that. But the point I'm trying to make is you don't change. Your personality doesn't change, is what I'm saying. You don't have a different outlook on yourself. You're still yourself. You just have a new look. I mean, here's an example. DarthOmniShadow. I see that you're a little bit of a wrestling fan. WWE. Okay, cool. I'll throw something out you, kind of a ballpark figure, if you will. John Cena. When John Cena did his rapping gimmick, he was a bad guy, and sooner or later he became a babyface. Okay, no problem. He became a babyface after about almost a year, almost about a year being a heel. But he was a babyface. And he still had his rapping gimmick all the way up to about 2007, whatever. And he brought it back on occasions, like this past year and so. But still, he was the John Cena fans got behind. And he never really changed that gimmick that much. But as WWE got more into the PG era, which many people complain about, he started to put that to the side and only bring it out on occasions. And thus, in a sense, his gimmick kind of changed. He was still the same Cena, he just had a different design. His design, basically, the design of his character, not his look, but the design of who the character was had changed. You know, not his look, basically not who he is, not his personality, but basically part of that design changed. I mean, it was still John Cena. It was still the same John Cena that debuted 10 years ago, or debuted the rap gimmick about 10 years ago. But the only difference was, the only design change was he no longer rapped as much. And he only brought it out on occasions. And it took people a long while to get used to it, but they got used to it. And when he would bring out the rapping side of him, like he did earlier this year, I mean, heck, when he came out to his Word Life theme song to do that rap off, or that rap and rock concert thing with Rock, the place popped. The place popped. I mean, Simon Nick HD, he popped in a live reaction that you could see here on YouTube. Because that was something that fans had been wanting to see, because that was the John Cena that they were used to. They weren't used to the John Cena. They're not used to the John Cena they see now. Even though he's been like this for about 4 or 5 years, if not more so, they're not used to him still because they want the Dr. Thugonomics Cena back. That's what they want. They want him to rap more. They want him to be more open. They want him to be basically more of what he was. They want that rapping design. They want the rapping part of him back full swing. I know that's kind of a strange comparison when it comes to Sally, but here's the situation on that. When fans look at Sally's new redesign, right now they're saying, we want the old Sally back. We want the Sally with just the vest and the boots. We want that Sally. We don't want this Sally. We want this Sally. It's kind of like, again, with John Cena. It's like, oh, we don't want this John Cena that doesn't rap. We want the John Cena that raps as the Doctor of Thugonomics. That's what we want. And yet John Cena himself comes out and says, hey, I'm still the same guy I was 10 years ago. I just don't do as much. I just don't do the same kind of stuff I used to. And it's not a personality change. It's just a design change. And that's all it is. Heck, you want even a bigger wrestling example in the WWE? Try The Undertaker. Try The Undertaker. Throughout his tenure in that company, 22 plus years in that company, going on 22 years in that company, he has changed. I mean, after what? Basically 4-6 years or so of the same old Undertaker, 4, 5, 6 years of the same old Undertaker. Different. Okay, one thing he changed was his color of his tie and his gloves and the rim on his hat, and that was it. But years after almost the same kind of thing, what happened? What happened? 95, 96 came around, he changed. He started to adapt to the change of the change of the times, if you will. He started to adapt to the change. Hey, the change of the times. He started to adapt. 97, he started to be more aggressive, as some people said, as the Attitude Era came around, became more aggressive, became more violent, became more hardcore, became more, to quote Jim Ross, more demonic. And all of a sudden, here's the Ministry of Darkness situation popping up. And then after that, you had the American Badass deal for like what? 4 years. You had the American Badass. And then in 2004, he adapted back to what he is now. Basically a blending of both the Badass and the original Deadman. And that's what it was. It was a blending of both. He was back to what fans had gotten used to seeing when he first debuted. He blended in a little bit of that ministry, a little bit of that dark, aggressive, hardcore side. And he also blended in the American Badass part. So that was what was different about. So that, again, was all about changing with the times. It was still the same Undertaker. It was still the same guy. He hadn't changed that much except for his design. That's all he did. He just changed with the times. That's all he did. You know, they never said that the Undertaker was old, outdated, cliched, and niched. No. He just kept evolving with the times. His personality never really changed that much. And again, I know it's a strange comparison with Sally, but the thing is, that's exactly how people have to look at Sally. You know, I like it. I like the design. I do. I have no problem with it. I think it's pretty cool because, like I say, facially, I still see her. I still see Sally, and I still believe it is Sally, personality-wise. All that's changed is her outfit. That's about it. That's all that's really changed. And you know, when you think about it, we can't really argue at the fact that the outfit is the biggest change of all, because to be quite honest, DarthOmniShadow, I think you know this as well as I do. People here on DA, people over at For Affinient and other websites, they sometimes draw Sally in a different outfit as well. Heck, people have drawn Sally in an outfit to where she's had shorts and a shirt at times, just as fan art, and that's it, just to kind of give an idea of what she would look like if Sega, which obviously to some have just done, had taken control and said this is what we want. You take a look at Sonic GX, you can find that here on YouTube or find it on DeviantArt, and they have her that way, in a similar way. The point I'm trying to make is the point I'm trying to make in this obviously long video is it doesn't matter what clothing design she has, what hair design she has. If it's still Sally, it's still Sally. Just deal with it. I mean, again, you can look here on DeviantArt, and there are people that have already drawn her in her new design, but they've given her the facial features of, yeah, that's Sally. That's her. That's the girl. I mean, why do you think... I mean, here's the thing. Why do you think Archie Comics would allow Sally to be on the cover of the encyclopedia up front with Sonic and Knuckles? Why would she be on the cover of the Best of Sonic the Hedgehog Stories, Volume 1? It's because she's still prominent and relevant to the stories, to the franchise. Now, like I said, I think what's going to happen as we progress throughout the year, or how long it's going to take till this debut happens of this new redesign, is we're just going to keep wondering exactly what the final product's going to be. All we got, according to Ian Flynn, and many people have confirmed this, whether they support him or not, is a rough draft image. And as this one person here on DA said in the comments section of, I'll provide a link to the article here in the description box. But basically, what they said was, in time, they're going to, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to change it. They might change it. They may tweak it a little bit to make it look like Sally. Like maybe they'll add the fur tuffet, the piece, the tuffets of fur on the cheeks and all that to make it look like her. But the point is, but the thing is, we got to hold, who knows how long till this happens, and this occurs, till we see whether or not it's going to get a positive, mixed, or negative reaction. And I've had the firm opinion of feeling that if it has, I've just got this firm, honestly, I have this firm opinion that if it gets a mixed reaction, like I said, it's going to be another situation like with Bunny. They're going to go back and forth. With Bunny, sometimes you'll see her with her cowgirl outfit and everything, and sometimes you just see her with a leotard on, and that's it. The same thing I think is going to happen with Sally if it gets a mixed reaction throughout. They're going to say, okay, maybe we need to go back and forth, and they're going to. There's no doubt about it. But like I said, we just have to sit back and wait, because like I said, DarthOmniShadow, I know you and a lot of people are on the fence about this, and I don't blame you guys. I really don't. You're on the fence about the design, and I don't blame you. I mean, honestly, I have no problem with it. The only thing I think a lot of people are worried about with Ian Flynn, because they don't trust him, is whether or not he's going to do something to where the way is that, what they're worried about is, he's going to do something that's where they're worried that with this new design, he's going to write a story or something that's going to explain something like, oh, we had to de-age her for this, or we have to change her personality because of that. And that's what they're worried about. They're worried that he's going to write a story centered around her redesign, explaining why she looks younger, like maybe by a few years or something like that, or why her personality's changed. And I don't think he's going to do that because, as one person has pointed out, he isn't that crazy. He isn't that dumb. He may have a lot on his plate. He's even admitted it on that AM radio interview he did, interview that he did on the Eagle AM. He said basically with so much to do, it puts a lot more stress on him. And I have said this many times before, and DarthOmniShadow and anybody else listening, please tell me if you agree or not. What he needs to do is pass on a few of these comic books to other people. Don't keep, just piling them up in front of you, because you're never going to be able to focus on something and get it done as quickly as you want to. And quite honestly, if I'm Ian Flynn and I'm the one writing the damn book, it's like I said before, I have no problem with the crossover happening. I don't. I have no problem with these adaptions and tie-ins, if you will. But here's what I would do if I was Ian Flynn. If I had to sign some kind of contract, I would have added this into my contract, as a freelancer or not. I would have said, you want me to write for your comics? I have no problem with that, but on one condition. If I'm going to do a story arc, let me finish it before anything else comes up. That's what I would have done. I would have added in, I would have said, okay, I signed the contract, but I want added in there, or something like, I would take my pen and I'd be like, you want me to sign this contract as a freelancer and to do stories for your comics only? Fine, I have no problem. But here's what I want to add in. And I would write down what I would want it in. What I would want added in. I'd write down something like, because if I was in Ian Flynn's shoes, I'd write down something like, if you want me to do these comics, no problem. But you gotta let me finish what I start before anything else. In other words, if I in other words, if I want to do a long story arc in the future, you got to let me finish that before you dump anything else on me, and that includes the people at Sega and Capcom and Sega, and that includes the people that finance or partnered with us or allowing you to use or licensing or that are allowing us to license the characters to use in the books or using these stories. You have to let me finish what I start first before you dump anything else on me. That includes adaptions and crossovers. Let me finish what I'm going to do first before any of that. Honestly, if I was Ian Flynn, I would have told Paul Kaminsky this. I would have told the people in charge, the higher ups at Archie this, the higher ups at Sega, and I said, look, you want me to do your stories? Fine, no problem. But let me finish what I start before you dump anything else on me. And let's be honest, that would make sense, right? That would make things a lot easier for him, right? And again, like I said, what he needs to do to take a lot of the stress off him is to pick people out. Pick out maybe a Tracy Yarlin. Maybe pick out an up-and-coming writer over at Archie Comics that's working on maybe, let's say, an Archie book or Sabrina book or whatever, and say, hey, do you mind writing for this book? Kind of take some stress off me, dude. That way he can focus on maybe one or two books. And in this case, if he's got such a long-ass story arc that he's doing for the Sonic the Hedgehog main comic book as well as the spin-off, then have him focus on those two comics and basically give Mega Man and give New Crusaders over to other writers at Archie, like Tracy Yarlin, maybe somebody working on one of the Archie related books, like Jughead or Super Teens or whatever, or even Sabrina, hand it off over to them and say, hey, can you write a few issues for me while I try to finish up what I'm doing here? And to me, that would help him out immensely, and I think a lot of people agree on that. But again, if I was him, when I got hired on, when I signed that contract, before I signed it, I would have talked to them, I would have talked to people at Sega, I would have said, look, I have no problem taking on the job of being the head writer, but let me do what I got to do first before anything else. And that includes adaptions and crossovers. That's about it. And if they don't like it, hey, don't sign the contract, go somewhere else. Go find work somewhere else. That's what I would do. They want me to work with them so badly. They want me to do the job, write the stories, because the other writer wants to go cuckoo, if you will, off his rocker. Then so be it. Or the other writer wants to focus more on one thing instead of the main focus that he's supposed to, or the main characters he's supposed to. Then fine. I have no problem. But let me do what I got to do first. Unfortunately, though, Ian Flynn, the one thing I have to say that he needs to grow. I'm not trying to be mean here, but with all due respect, he needs to grow a backbone on. And I think anybody would agree on this. Is he needs to let the higher ups know, look, I don't mind writing the crossover. I don't mind hyping it up and everything. But please, let's release it after I do this mega arc. Now, unless, like I said, this story arc, unless the crossover has something to do with the story arc, which apparently it seems to probably have something to do with the story arc, because according to one source, it's supposed to involve the missing blue Chaos Emerald, then, I have no problem with the crossover taking place when it does. If it doesn't have nothing to do with the story arc, then, again, it should wait. Just like these one-shot issues should wait. I'm not saying that the main comic didn't have something to do with the current story arc and a backup story. They did. But they could have waited on the tie-in to the Olympic thing until, I can say, I don't know, another 2 to 4 years. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, if I was Ian Flynn, I would at least try to talk them out of having me do all that, having to interrupt my story arc, allow me to finish it, and then let me work on the crossover. That's what I would have done. But that's all I'm really going to say about this right now. I know this video has been going really long, and I apologize for that, folks. It's just when you have a mic and you don't have a camera that gives you a 29-minute limit when it comes to HD video, it's a little easier to get a lot off your chest and respond to some of your viewers and subscribers and friends. But again, I thought I'd just mention that, and again, thanks to and give a shout out and a thank you to DarthOmniShadow on DA and whatever his name is here on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you for responding. You know, I apologize for the whole thing about the English deal. I kind of understand where you're coming from because, like I said, I do make mistakes myself. My mom makes mistakes, so it's nothing. It's not that bad. I try to improvise. Believe me, I try to improvise, but I do apologize if I said anything wrong. And I hope you'll come in along good with a lot of the artwork. I'm enjoying it. I really am. So again, thank you for responding, and thank you for all of you for taking time to listen to this and having patience with me on this long one. I really apologize for the long length. It's probably the longest audio video I've done in a while. So I do apologize for the long drug out video here. So I do apologize, but thank you all for taking your time and listening. Please respond. Comment down below. Video responses are greatly welcomed, but please respond down below. Comments are welcome too. But again, I really apologize for this long video, and again, thank you for your patience and your time listening, and you all have a good day, and peace out.